Hey guys, so let's talk about encapsulation and properties. Encapsulation refers to hiding the class fields while providing methods for access and manipulation. Let's go back to the car example. A car is a very complex system that internally have lots of components tightly coupled together. However, to the external world, we only have a few interfaces to deal with. Most users really don't know or even care how the car works beneath the surface. The only thing we need to care about is knowing how to use the available interfaces. And this is a great approach because as long as we keep the external interfaces unchanged, we can modify the whole internal system without disrupting the user interactions. In a similar way, we can apply the same concepts when programming. The objects should have a relationship built on a need-to-know basis. Each class should hide its internal state, providing controlled access to the necessary data. In the last videos, we've declared the player fields as public variables. But according to the principle of encapsulation, this is a bad practice. We want some control over the access and manipulation of the class data. So first, we need to restrict the access by changing the access level to private. One of the conventions for naming private instance fields is adding an underscore at the beginning of the field name. This allows to easily distinguish between instance fields and local variables, the variables declared inside methods. So now that the data is private, we need a way to access and manipulate its content. We do it by providing methods to access the fields. These are usually called getters and setters. A getter is a method that returns the value of a class instance field, while a setter is a method that assigns a new value to a class instance field. I know that you may be thinking, why are we going through all this trouble when we are doing exactly the same as before? With getters and setters, we regain access to the private data. Well, it's all in the control. Now we can give read and write permissions to our fields. We can create fields with read, write, or read and write access. For example, we can give the player score a read-only access by removing the setter method. We can now read the field value, but we cannot change it from outside of the class. If the field was public, it would be impossible to control this issue. Another advantage is that we can add extra verifications when manipulating the variables. For example, we can add a verification to only change the variable name if the provided value has more than 3 characters. Now, there is an easier way to create the setters and getters. We call them properties. A property is a special kind of method that we can use as if it was a public field. So in a way, it provides the easiness of using a field while maintaining the safety and flexibility of a method. We can replace the getter and setter from the last example with a property. Please note that when naming properties, we should use the upper camel case convention. Although looking like a field from the outside, it represents one or two methods inside the class, the get and set. We call these accessor methods. In the set method, the value keyword is a reference to the assigned value when using the property set accessor method, just like passing an argument when calling a method with parameters. And using a property is exactly the same as using a public field. We can set and or get the property value. The only difference is that now we can provide read, write, or read-write access to our fields, and also add extra verifications when these methods are called. Now, when declaring properties with read and write access, and without extra logic in the accessor methods, we can use an auto-implemented property. In this case, the compiler creates a private field for us, so we don't need to declare it. But please note that we can only use an auto-implemented property when the accessor methods do not require extra logic. And also, the property has either the get or both the set and get methods. We cannot have an auto-implemented property with only a set method. So, to summarize this video, keep in mind the following rules of thumb. All class data should be private and only exposed when necessary. To expose the data, we either use methods or properties. And we never, but never, use a public instance field. So, I'll see you in the next video.